Mr. President, meet a Capitol Hill queen, one of the finest, Denise Naslund, Hawk Girl. She was murdered for an act of kindness. She turns to you, Donald Trump, that you would outlaw the pornography that is responsible for not just her death, but for the deaths of countless women. You can win the female vote if you vow to outlaw forms of entertainment which are disrespectful to the female gender. Denise Naslund is our Amaterasu of the Morning Star. Denise Naslund, her first name means Dionysus, which is the Greek god of wine and intoxication. Her middle name is Marie, for the Mother of God, and she was born Feast of the Mother of God. When I first started to feel that she was very near in a most special way, I was in jail. And in 1974, Penny showed up in one of the holding cells for the courtroom. It's the only coin I've ever seen in jail. Well, 1974 was the year she was murdered, and it was the year Rachel Mussolini's book about Benito Mussolini came out, which revolutionized my life. 1974 was the year most of Ted Bundy's victims were killed. And the first four letters of the word coincidence are coin. And when staff confiscated that penny, I was surprised because they never told me, Matthew, we found contraband in your room. They just confiscated it. So I walked out of my cell surprised. There was a flood, so we all had to evacuate. And somebody flooded their cell, and the carpets were drenched. And we were moved to the gymnasium. And they searched the gymnasium. Well, they searched our cells, and they confiscated the penny. And then I walked out of my cell afterwards onto the wet carpet, and I walked over to the bookshelf, and there was a picture of a female on the cover of a magazine. And in big yellow letters it said, "Pennies from Heaven." And I opened it up, and there was a book, or rather a song called Pennies from Heaven. And in that song, well, it's not just that song was inspired by the fact that pennies and dimes have been a very common way that people have said that they were suspicious that a loved one who had passed on to the other side was communicating with them. So I was very convinced of this. And while they were searching for the penny, I sang a little song. Don't let 'em take my penny, little Danny. Don't let 'em take my penny away. It dated back to 1974 when you were reborn in heaven. Welcomed a new saint. Well, I finished that song, and the end of that song came to me when I asked a man after I got out, when was Richard Nixon impeached? He said 1974, so I walked outside and I sang that song, and I finished the song, which ends, "Restore my penny, little Danny, because it's worth a fortune to me. It dated back to 1974, an important time in his story." And then I walk back in, and there's this kid named Mohammed, and he's playing with pennies. And he's got a total of 4 pennies that dated back before the time there was the shield on the pennies. And he said, maybe I've got a 1974 penny here, because I sang the song to him. And then, sure enough, out of those 4 pennies, he had a 1974 penny. And so what are the odds that I sing "Restore My Penny, Little Danny," and then the penny is restored, like a minute later? And then it was also interesting that Muhammad explained Islam to me in a way that helped me overcome a lot of my bigotry for Islam. Now, I don't like Islam, and I don't like what the Prophet Muhammad did, but this Muslim was very humble, more humble than, and his name was Muhammad, and he was more humble than I am, and more humble than most Christians are. So it reminded me that a lot of these Muslims are really good people. Even though I don't like their religion, I don't like what their founder did with all this cutting off of heads and terrorism and stuff like that. I realized, this is the most humble Muslim I've ever met. And he's explained Islam to me so well. And Denise Naslund, whom we're looking at, is half Arab. Her mother's Lebanese. Her last name is Deeb, which means wolf, the last name of her mother's maiden name. So Denise Naslund is Arab and Swedish. I found out she was Swedish because I thought she was French, because I saw her wearing a French flag. To be more precise, it was a French bikini. There's a reason for that. However, I prayed and I asked my dad, hoping she was French. The last name Naslund was French. He said, "It's not French, it's Swedish. Did you know you have Swedish on your mom's side?" Well, I didn't know I had Swedish on my mom's side. So that was very interesting. Well, through Denise Naslund, I learned I've got the same ancestors as she does on her father's side. And then, after I get out, I realized that she died National France Day. That would explain why she was wearing the French flag. And I called her Queen of France when I saw her wearing the French flag. I still call her Queen of France. But that was before knowing that she died National France Day. And the football team here is called the Vikings. And before Sweden existed, the Swedes, the people that lived in that area, were Vikings. And when I got out, I was right next to the Swedish Institute. I was at Park Avenue Treatment Center, right next to the Swedish Institute. And we drove by the Swedish Institute every day. I got my brain zapped at the Swedish hospital, which is now called HCMC. But it used to be, on the walls, carved into the walls, it says the Swedish Hospital. So that's what it used to be named, before political correctness decided, let's change the name. But anyhow, Denise Naslund's really amazing, Donald Trump. She really likes you. Really likes you a lot. What we need to do is we need to hire a woman to be the vicar of Denise Naslund and the Capitol Hill Queens. Hire some beautiful young ladies around their age when these girls die. Hire them to go into the prisons. I will go in there with them. We will go there and they will hold the inmates and the pedophiles and the sexual offenders and the murderers. And if they get hurt, that is part of the job description. That's part of what they agree to when you hire them and you pay them. Because we will lower the recidivism rate. Because these girls, they will be my apostles. We will go into the prisons. And all of their suffering, if they get sexually assaulted, if they get hurt, if they get murdered, whatever, they will be enshrined. And they will be heroes of America. Because what those inmates need is they need beautiful women to go in there and hold them. And that's what happened to me. Denise Naslund held me, and she loved me, unconditionally, and she mothered me. And she is patron saint of serial killers, dead for an act of kindness. She was always kind, always one willing to help out those who are hurting. So she helps out a man who's pretending to be injured. It was an act of kindness which cost her her life, but there's destiny behind it. So Donald Trump, let's find the right people to be vicars of the Capitol Hill Queens. Let's find someone who will take a new name. Just as a nun takes a new name when a nun takes vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. When a nun takes a new name, likewise, we will have young ladies trained, anointed, and they will take the names of the Capitol Hill Queens. And they will go into the prisons, and instead of preaching Jesus Christ, if those inmates have heard enough Jesus Christ, you send some beautiful girls in there. Send them in their bikinis even. And have them go up and love those men unconditionally. You'd be surprised. It's what those men need. It will lower the recidivism rate. We will have the lowest recidivism rate in the world. Let's just do it here in Minnesota. And you will see. The Capitol Hill Queens. I will later on go over all of their names. But they keep growing. There's a book of Rebecca. It's an invisible book to us. But in the spirit realm, it exists. Where the names of every woman who volunteers to be a Rebecca is written. And Rebecca got the blessing Jacob didn't deserve for Jacob. She cooked the meal for Isaac that most delighted Isaac and got Isaac drunk, pulled all the right strings, and dressed Jacob up like Isaac's favorite son, Esau. And Rebecca got her beloved Jacob the blessing he didn't deserve, the blessings unintended for him. That is what Denise Naslund and the Capitol Hill Queens and those written in the book of Rebecca wish to do. The blessing did not go to the father's favorite, who was Esau. The blessing went to the woman's favorite, Rebecca's favorite. That is the power of women. They are weaker than men. And so, in many ways, they're more powerful. The devil's more scared of them. Because the devil doesn't want to lose to a girl. It's more embarrassing to go into the ring with a girl and to lose a fight with a girl. I played basketball with a Cambodian girl when I was in hospital one of these times. And it was embarrassing. I lost multiple games of basketball to her. How embarrassing is that to lose to a girl? So how beautiful it is when the devil, the flesh, the world, loses not to God, but to these lovely ladies, loses to these Capitol Hill Queens, these girls, these Israeli Defense Force girls. It's going to... They will fear them more than they fear God himself, because it's easier to get defeated by God. The devil being proud is going to hurt far more if he loses to a girl. But Denise Naslund is a big bundle of sweetness. She's also a warrior. Mr. President, Holy Roman Emperor, Your Grace, Your Eminence, ask Denise Naslund into your heart. Keep a picture of her. And George Ann Hawkins, make her president of the United States. You are her vicar. Make her. Recognize her. She's already the first, in 2020, George Ann Hawkins is the first female president of the United States. Her name is George. She called herself George. And she's from Washington, so she's George Washington. Just as George Washington was the first male president of the United States, George from Washington is the first female president of the United States. And George Ann Hawkins is Spider-Man. Spider-Woman, sorry. And this is Hawkeye. Spider-Woman has a hawk. Just like Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan's best friend was a hawk. And Hawkins means hawking, which means falconry. Which means hunting with birds of prey. And Denise Naslund is that perfect bird of prey. You can go hunting. And she will even get kind of naughty. She'll wear a bikini, a miniskirt, and a thong, just to catch the fish that are most difficult to catch, the fish that nothing else will catch. Shall be a new covenant. This will be thermonuclear war. Thermonuclear war. This will be far more than this girl can do more than Jesus Christ can do. Because I had so many people preach Jesus Christ to me, and I was in and out of the jails and mental institutions over and over again. I had no love in my heart. Jesus Christ and God the Father and all that stuff, preaching that to me all the time didn't do anything for me. Reading the Bible didn't do anything for me. It was when Denise Naslund came into my heart. That's when I changed. So here is a secret, Mr. President, Holy Roman Emperor, Your Grace, Your Eminence. You can avenge her, because her killer would go to the greenhouse where his grandfather kept all the adult magazines, all the pornography. He would go to the greenhouse and absorb his mind, young mind, in hours and hours of pornographic adult material. We cannot have our young people absorbing their mind in that. You, Donald Trump, if you agree to outlaw porn and censor the media and censor the entertainment industry, censor the foul music and the foul stuff that's on TV, the strongest people in America, the Christians and those who have strong morals, are going to recognize you, Donald Trump. Even if you're evil, they will recognize you as a necessary evil. He'll be the Holy Roman Emperor that I know you can be, that I know you're called to be. But I think it might require you to start responding to my messages to you. But I'll keep trying. God bless you.